Well, the latest U.S. strikes appear concentrated around Iran's southern Gulf Coast and the Strait of Hormuz. Reported targets include military and naval facilities around Bushehr, the Greater Thumb Island, Bandar Abbas and Qeshm Island, along with several other areas. Additional locations that were hit on the southern coast include Jask, Sirik, Konarak and Chabahar. Explosions were also reported near the capital, Tehran, targeting military and command-related infrastructure. Well, let's now speak to Lieutenant General Sir Simon Mayall, who's a retired British Army officer and former Middle East advisor for the UK Ministry of Defence. He's joining us from London. General, good to have you with us again on Al Jazeera. So we've seen there the latest targets that the US has hit. What do you make of this current American strategy? They're hitting Iranian islands like Karg, reportedly with low-flying drones. What does it tell you about the current military objective?
I mean, there's three levels, really, Dolly. The first one is obviously strategic, to try and get the Tehran regime, and we're not entirely sure what that is at the moment, what the power struggle is between the hardliners, IRGC, the pragmatists. Try and get them to come back and, I suppose, bring this whole regional issue to a conclusion, and that's nuclear, that's Strait of Hormuz, etc. At the operational level, as we'd call it, is trying to put a cordon sanitaire around the Strait of Hormuz, basically to force it open. And then at the tactical level, what you're seeing is attacks on command and control, on communications, surveillance, on launchers and stockpiles, everything that allows the Iranians, whoever's giving the orders, to target shipping. At the same time, you're trying to stop the Iranians traveling through, and you're trying to defend the cargo ships. Some, as you reported, are coming through. You're trying to defend your Gulf allies, or in the United States, Gulf allies, and for us, British, and you're trying to protect your bases.
Do you think a ground operation is on the cards, General?
A ground operation is not something that the American people or CENTCOM, or I suspect Donald Trump, would want. But there is still a very, very large number of ground troops in the area, the Marine Expeditionary Unit and the forward elements of 82nd Airborne. So an attack on Karg, which we talked about some months ago now, amazingly, or Qeshm, or a limited strike somewhere else, are all options the Americans have.
Yeah, I asked about the ground operation because especially on the attacks on Karg Island, and also because of the fact that the Americans are signaling, they seem to be signaling that they're back to finish the job. But in military terms, what does it actually mean to finish the job? Is the U.S. now pursuing proper victory rather than containment? And if so, what does that proper victory look like in a crisis like this one?
Well, I suppose proper victory, particularly the regional allies, and Qatar in particular, is Iran behaving in a rational manner as a part of a regional security framework. But that will require the Iranians to give up on their nuclear ambitions. It will require them to admit the Straits of Hormuz are international waterways open to all traffic, and to stop interfering in their regional neighbours' politics. That's what victory would look like. It doesn't need to be military victory, but the military means are the ways it's being pursued at the moment to try and get the pragmatists in Tehran to recognise that that's really the only way they're going to stop creating the conditions for an internal collapse when the economy goes and the Iranian people decide they've had enough of the Ayatollahs and the IRGC.
Well, it doesn't seem to be the case yet. I wanted to ask you, General, also about Israel here.
50 years.
Yeah. It did take a long time before, but Israel so far in this latest escalation has not entered the fray. Why do you think that is? And will they stay out of it?
The Israelis will do what the Israelis want to do, but they are very dependent on political and military support from the Americans. I always thought that the MOU that included a sort of Hezbollah-Israel ceasefire within it was always doomed to fail, because anytime the hardliners wished to provoke the Americans, they would ask their Hezbollah allies to attack Israel, and Israel would then almost automatically strike back, which would give the hardliners then a chance to say the Americans have broken the ceasefire, etc. So at the moment, I think the Israelis, of course, have their own domestic problems. They're headed towards an election which Netanyahu knows he stands a good chance of losing. So they don't want to alienate their allies in the Gulf, or, of course, the Americans. So it's a bit tit for tat, trying to keep this ceasefire still within a negotiated, left and right of arc.
So do you think there is still a realistic off-ramp, or could this end up becoming a bigger regional theatre?
I hope it won't become a bigger regional theatre, because I don't actually think the Iranians have the capacity to make it a bigger regional theatre. There's been an enormous amount of restraint showed by the Gulf nations who have been attacked, albeit the Iranians say it's only attacks on American bases. The Saudis have not done anything yourselves. They've been very defensive, been very statesmanlike, but you can sense that patience is running out. And I do think, as I say, that fundamentally, although the rhetoric is very hard line from Tehran, the reality of the economics and the social structure in Iran is very brittle. And there's a fight at the top for pragmatism or continuing the sort of Islamic Revolution, Shia championship agendas which have run for the last 50 years. But I think we just need to keep the pressure on Iran. Iran needs to behave like a responsible regional power. It's a great power, a great civilization, but it is walking itself into a complete cul-de-sac if it continues to foment turmoil in the Gulf and continues to threaten the Americans, the American political objectives.
General, thank you so much for sharing your views with us. Thank you for joining us on Al Jazeera. Lieutenant General Sir Simon Mayall joining us there from London.